The story of England is frequently overlooked or assumed, often obscured within the broader narratives of Great Britain and the United Kingdom. Yet, these later unions depended on England's prior existence, a reality dating back to 927 AD. So, how did England emerge? Who inhabited the land before the English, and what path led it to become the nation we recognize today? Following the Roman Empire's withdrawal from Britain, the territory now known as England experienced an influx of Germanic tribes known as the Anglo-Saxons. Historical accounts suggest that after the Romans departed, the native Britons, facing attacks from Picts and Scots, invited some Anglo-Saxons to help repel these invaders. The Germanic tribes succeeded in driving back the Scots and Picts, but then turned against their Britons hosts, establishing their dominance by the early 7th century. They founded several kingdoms: Essex, Kent, Sussex, Mercia, East Anglia, Northumbria, and Wessex. Records from the subsequent centuries within these kingdoms are sparse. However, it's known that the Anglo-Saxons soon faced formidable invaders themselves. In 793, Viking forces attacked the Lindisfarne monastery, shocking the Anglo-Saxons with their brutality and sacrilege. By 870, the Danes had conquered East Anglia, and Mercia fell just 4 years later. Following the Viking capture of Northumbria in 875, Wessex stood as the last major Anglo-Saxon kingdom. Upon the death of Wessex's King Ethelred, his brother Alfred assumed the task of defending the kingdom's independence. Initially, he resorted to paying tribute, Danegeld, to the Vikings. Eventually, however, he mobilized his forces against them. His decisive victory at the Battle of Edington in 878 crushed the Danes and halted their advance on Wessex. A simultaneous leadership crisis in Mercia allowed Alfred to extend his influence there. Rather than appointing a new king, he installed a loyal governor, Ealdorman, who answered directly to him, effectively placing both Wessex and much of Mercia under Alfred's ultimate authority, though part of Mercia remained under Viking control. After the deaths of Alfred and the Mercian governor by 911, Edward the Elder, Alfred's son, and Æthelflæd, Alfred's daughter, took command of Wessex and Mercia respectively. They intensified pressure on the neighboring Danelaw, aggressively expanding their territories. Æthelflæd pushed northward, while Edward incorporated all of East Anglia into his realm by 917. Æthelflæd continued her advance, extending Mercian control towards York, whose inhabitants chose submission over conflict. When Æthelflæd died shortly after, her daughter Elfwin was expected to succeed her. Unexpectedly, the Mercians deposed Elfwin, creating an opportunity for Edward of Wessex to annex the entirety of Mercia soon after. By 918, Anglo-Saxon forces were pushing deeper into the Danelaw, steadily reclaiming land. When Edward died in 924, the recently subdued territories had all sworn allegiance to him. His son Aethelstan inherited a confident kingdom. Æthelstan arranged a marriage between his sister and Sihtric, the Viking ruler of Northumbria. Upon Sihtric's death, Æthelstan moved swiftly, bringing the kingdom of York and then all of Northumbria under his direct rule. This unification of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms under a single ruler around 927 is widely regarded by historians as the creation of the Kingdom of England. Yet, the situation remained complex. Æthelstan, styling himself King of the English, continued to pursue expansion. In 937, he invaded Scotland, then called Alba. Alba, outmatched, formed an alliance with Constantine II, King of Alba, Olaf Guthfrithson, Viking King of Dublin, and Owain, King of Strathclyde. Led by Olaf, this coalition met Æthelstan's forces at the Battle of Brunanburh, location uncertain. The result was a crushing defeat for the alliance, with heavy losses on both sides. While this victory is thought to have cemented English unity and fostered national pride, it did not result in the annexation of Alba or Strathclyde, which remained independent. England's stability was tested again when Vikings returned at the end of the 10th century. Following Æthelstan's death in 939, Olaf Guthfrithson exploited the transition, swiftly capturing York and reclaiming large parts of Northumbria and Mercia, forcing English recognition. Ironically, when Olaf died in 941 and his cousin, also named Olaf, took power, Æthelstan's half-brother and successor, King Edmund, seized the chance to retaliate. By 942, he had recaptured the central annexed territories, and within 2 more years, he expelled the Vikings completely from Northumbria, reuniting England under his rule. Emulating his predecessor's ambition, Edmund then invaded Strathclyde. annexing only its southern territories. He ceded the rest to Malcolm I, King of Scotland, rather than incorporating it into England. This apparent stability was short-lived. Edmund was murdered in 946. His brother Edred became king, but the Norwegian Viking Eric Bloodaxe seized Northumbria the following year, triggering nearly a decade of conflict over the region. Edred eventually secured Northumbria permanently for England. His death soon after brought his young nephew Eadwig to the throne, but Eadwig was quickly deposed in favor of his brother Edgar, although Eadwig retained a small portion of the kingdom as co-ruler. When Eadwig died just 2 years later, 959, Edgar became the sole ruler of all England. Under King Edgar, known as Edgar the Peaceful, the fledgling English kingdom finally established its enduring foundations. He implemented numerous reforms and wisely retained many Danelaw systems and laws to appease the Danish population. His nearly 20-year reign was characterized by peace, unity, and order, which solidified the cohesion of the Kingdom of England. The formation of England was a protracted and tumultuous journey. Starting with the Anglo-Saxon migrations and their establishment of separate kingdoms, through Viking invasions and rule, the first glimpses of a unified England only emerged as the Anglo-Saxons began reclaiming the Danelaw. After cycles of conquest, subjugation, and reconquest, the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms were finally united. Subsequent rulers focused on defining stable borders, defending territorial integrity to ensure the kingdom's physical cohesion, and ultimately, under Edgar the Peaceful, constructing the legal and administrative foundations of the kingdom, the nation of England as we understand it.